Hello and welcome to this video on how to debug web analytics code with Fiddler. Fiddler is a tool that a lot of web developers are common with. I'm going to show you two useful functions to put it to use for web analytics: inspectors and the AutoResponder. Fiddler is a free web debugging tool. You can download it at fiddler2.com. Fiddler logs all HTTP traffic between your computer and the internet. That means you can view just about everything that gets interchanged in the background while you're browsing the web. So my first example is going to be a test. We want to test whether the code we've put on our page is working appropriately. This is a real example from our website, a German career network for students and graduates. This is the page of a recruiting workshop for law students. If the visitor clicks on this button down here, he starts the application for this workshop. Now what we want to know is, how often do people click on that button to start the application? So in order to track the click on something in Google Analytics, we need to send an event tracking call or a virtual page view when someone clicks on that button. Since we also want to track that click as a conversion, we are sending a virtual page view. Now this is not the only event page with an application button. So depending on which event page the user clicks the button on, the name of the virtual page view is supposed to look differently. It is constructed by rewriting the current page title and some other things. It really doesn't matter here to go into the details of that. Just keep in mind that we want different names of the virtual page users sending depending on the pages the users are currently on. So we have two questions. The first question, is the click being tracked at all? And the second question, is the virtual page view getting the correct name? Let's hop over to Fiddler now. On the left hand side you see all the HTTP requests that cause the exchange of data between your computer and the internet. You see that's a lot. Let's load a page. You see all kinds of stuff. We'll clean that up right away, but let's look at it for a second. Now we've just regularly viewed this page. That is automatically being tracked as a regular page view. Fiddler shows us the requests that are being sent to Google Analytics for the purpose of tracking this page view. There are usually two requests. The first one is the ga.js request. Let's take a look here. ga.js, you see that? That's the JavaScript file that is being downloaded from Google Analytics on every page view. That in itself doesn't mean the page has been tracked. The JavaScript file, after being downloaded, then sends a second request to Google Analytics, the so-called utm.gif request. It's an image request. And when we see this utm.gif image request with a result code of 200 next to it, we know something has successfully been tracked. Let's take a look and find the utm.gif request. Here it is. And we see the result code of 200 here. And that means a tracking call has successfully been sent to Google Analytics. Now let's clean up this mess a little bit. Up on the left you can clear the list to get some breathing room. I click here and then I click remove all. Ooh, much nicer. Since we know we only need that utm.gif request, we can tell Fiddler to ignore everything else. We can do that with filters. Click on the tab Filters up there, then on Use Filters, then here you write __utm.gif, that's the name of the file that is being requested, and you activate the checkbox here to show only requests if the URL contains utm.gif. So we're reloading the page and we see just this one request now for the page load. Much easier to stay on top of things that way. Now let's finally examine our problem. Is the click on that button really being tracked as a virtual page view? And does the page view get the name we want it to have? So I got Fiddler right here on the right hand side. Let's remove everything first of all. And then let's click. There's something. Now let's investigate what that is. There are two requests here. The first one is the click on the button. The second one is the page that was loaded afterwards. Let's look what's in those requests. Therefore you click on the Inspectors tab. Then you click on Web Forms. In Web Forms you can check out the values of each of the parameters of the UTM GIF request. The most important one in our example is UTMP. UTMP displays the value of the virtual page view that is being sent to Google Analytics. And here I can see that the value represents exactly the name that I wanted it to have. JavaScript code tends to work differently from browser to browser, so make sure to do this test with different browsers. Now to our second example. Ever had this problem? You had this idea on how to track something, you wrote or got some code for it, then had your IT guys upload it to your server or test server, and then you found out it doesn't work the way you expected. You corrected something, gave it back to your IT, they uploaded it again, and again there was something else on your system that caused it not to work the way you expected. Debugging takes a while, and incorrectly working code can brutally mess up your web analytics data, so you want to make sure that the thing is working before you put it up there. Now tools like the Firebug console, where you can just paste and test JavaScript code directly in the browser, makes all this less tiresome. But it is still not the same as having your code in that very page. I use Firebug for tests of smaller code snippets, but it gets tedious when you have to test longer stuff. Fiddler gives you the opportunity to test your web analytics code on your test or even your live system without having to beg your IT guys over and over again to correct your errors. The tool that Fiddler offers for this purpose is called AutoResponder. Once again, it's one of the tabs up here on the right side. What AutoResponder does is it reacts to certain HTTP requests in a way you specify. For example, you can tell Fiddler to simply drop certain HTTP requests. For example, I sometimes drop requests to external scripts like Facebook or add this to see if they are interfering with our other scripts. You can also tell Fiddler to replace certain requests by other requests, and that's what we are going to do now. Let's go back to the page we used for the first example, and let's take a look at the source code. In our source code, we have this WebTracker end.js file. That's also where the tracking script for this application button click is located. Now I'm going to tell Fiddler's AutoResponder to load another file from my computer instead of this WebTracker end.js file. I go to the AutoResponder tab, I click on Enable Automatic Responses here. You see it becomes clickable and editable. Then I click on Add, and you see this string to match 4 pops up here. I click on this new rule, string to match 4, then I go down to the rule editor, and I write WebTracker end.js. That's the name of the file I want to have replaced. Then I choose the action to execute. Then I choose Find a File from the second drop-down menu. And I select the test file from my computer. Then I click on Save. So let's now reload the page. In order to be sure that Fiddler has actually loaded the test file, I usually include a little alert window at the start of the test file. So now I can start testing my new web analytics code without getting on the nerves of the IT guys. You could do all the regular analysis like with Firebug or Chrome Developer Console. Check this out. For example, we go to the script panel and you just check for the original file name in the script tab and you'll find the code of your test file. Even though that test file may have another file name, here you see it's still WebTracker n.js, although we have loaded the test file. And the browser still displays the original file name. Fiddler takes care of loading the other file, so don't get confused because of that. Here you see the alert window, for example. So that's it. Go ahead and try it yourself.